Hello. Wow, such a wondrous glowing lighting. Welcome to Vision Denial. My name is Sam, and this is World Watch and the highlight videos, mashup videos. Over the last 6 weeks, I had made weekly videos where I discuss my thoughts watching every single playoff game, yes, including that one, of all 11 participating regions. Those have come and gone, and I'm still working on some other videos at this moment, highlighting each and every team to give a quick introduction. But in the meantime, as I'm still working on that, I thought, not quick, but simpler, I will just put in large videos of the highlights, and I'll be putting a multitude of them, one for all of the playoffs in order of how they appeared, and one for each region in order of how they appeared. If you look at the title, that's the video you're watching. So, without further ado, let's just get to the first one. Starting with, it's the first playoff series in Japan with the LJLs, Fukuoka, SoftBank, Hawks Gaming, oh god, that name, versus Burning Core, much better name. Honestly, this is an incredibly confusing series. It's worth skipping, but unless you want to see something very bizarre in terms of draft, because I've never had a team confuse me more than Burning Core. From the bizarre draft choices that are executed near perfectly in the early game, but get lost in the mid game, to the excellent vision denial followed by mediocre vision control, to solid approaches towards the neutral objectives, but near zero priority on them when it is required. It's just... Burning Core is a team that clearly knows what to do, but only kind of does it half-assed. The Hawks, for their part, are consistent in this series, having drafted very safe, waited until Burning Core could no longer play the game they wanted, and then proceeded to have a very proactive move around the map that matched their draft priorities. And for that, honestly, really solid from the Hawks. But it's hard to evaluate them in this situation because of how well Burning Core was doing in the early games. Like, honestly, it's really confusing. So, like, are the Hawks good? Or is Burning Core bad? Just in a confusing way. Honestly, either way, nothing convinced me in this series that either team would have made it to the finals, regardless of the result. And we'll just have to, let alone just making it to Worlds, and we'll just have to see how the Hawks do against a team that's less confusing than Burning Core. Because there are stuff here that the Hawks do that is really excellent. I'm just unsure if it's excellent because of the team they faced off or because they're consistent. We'll get to see. Shout out to Blank and Raina, who found some really nice angles for team fights. It was really satisfying to see them approach some of these engages. Let's take a look at the next series. We're off to Japan with the LJL's Rascal, Jesters, and Crest Gaming Act. And this is a really interesting series. I quite enjoyed this. Now, while Crest Gaming Act are the more proactive and team fight savvy team, the continuous aggression and very poor draft decisions means that they played a more difficult game than necessary. Rascal Jesters used this to their advantage, drafting simple, scaling compositions that directly address the win conditions that Crest Gaming would show. This series was one that was more unstylistic in nature, first and foremost. Both teams having excellent vision game, but their neutral setups are lacking, neither side with stronger laners overall. And while Crest Gaming have their star players that really pop off, Rascal Jesters were more cohesive and in sync overall. I prefer the proactive style of Crest Gaming as opposed to the laid-back, let-it-scale playstyle from Rascal Jesters, But the Jesters did make sure that everything is set up for various plays and forced mistakes out of Crest Gaming Act instead of just waiting for mistakes to just happen, which is really nice to see from a team that would otherwise presume to just wait for a mistake to happen. Once the lead was taken, it was just a slow choke to the finish. And while I don't necessarily think the slow nature of their gameplay will benefit them in a world stage, let alone further into the playoffs, this was solid and well executed. Now, shout out to Aino, who really endured a lot of bullying from Crest Gaming Act, and Hachimicha, who undertook the heavy utility of trying to rein in Cassine down. It really helped with their late game. Let's take a look at the next one. Off to Japan for the technically winners finals. Any of these winners would have gone straight to the finals. We've got, in the LJLs, Detonation FocusMe versus Sengoku Gaming. And it's left me with not so great ambitions for the region. While I don't think the vision or neutral play is good from either team, Detonation FocusMe gained the benefit of being a more proactive team of the two, which lands better in this particular meta. Sengoku Gaming, in their leads, would just slowly siege, place sparse vision, and reset, while Detonation FocusMe would regularly try to find avenues back into the game, or at least how to close it out. Sengoku Gaming is another one of those teams that on paper play better, but in practice wind up just waiting for opponents to make mistakes instead of forcing them or creating plays. This is a little unfortunate given how solid their drafts are in general. Their vision play is stronger generally, and they do have great wave management and coordination. But the team is slower, so it doesn't matter that the vision control of Detonation FocusMe doesn't match their vision denial, which their vision denial is excellent. I just don't know why they don't how do I say, add vision to it, or that they coin flip or use neutrals as a fight starter very rushed, or that their target selection isn't even all that great or consistent. They're usually first to the play, and given what I've seen out of the rest of the LJL, this doesn't look great for them, as most of the other teams don't tend to be as proactive as what Detonation FocusMe is showing. And it's likely that we're going to see them represent Japan again this year, as far as we can tell. We'll see how the other games go, right? So, shout out to Steel and Yaharong, who played out of their minds to work within the fringes of any team fight, especially in Game 3. Holy smoke, Yaharong. Your Zoe? No one should let him get a Zoe again. Take a look at the next series. All right, we head off to the semifinals of the losers bracket, round 2 of the losers bracket, where we got Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming versus Rascal Jesters in the LJL from Japan. If both teams had played like they did in Game 4, but for the entire series, I would have a very different impression of both of them. In matters of vision, team fighting, neutral setups, and even draft sense, both teams exhibited some form of either shyness or hesitation to the approach. And in some cases, just inability to perform the drafts their compositions that they draft. And while I do acknowledge that these issues do disappear by the time Game 4 rolls around, it looked like the winner of the series was going to be the team that got their shit together first, which so happened to be the Hawks. Now, to their credit, the Hawks do know what their win conditions are and how to close out games once they are there, but whether they know how to get to their win conditions is rather inconsistent. The Jesters, for their part, seemed to be on the ball faster when it came to the drafts, but not as much on executing them either. I also appreciate that both teams, even if sloppily, did put active attention to the side lane pressure while trying to make moves around the map. But the lack of consistent application to their drafts, the very poor positioning, and overall bizarre decisions on occasions means that the team who's just slightly faster to the draw comes out the victor. Which in this case just so happens to be the Hawks. And from this, it doesn't give me any confidence that either of these teams would even do well against Sengoku Gaming. Shout out to Dasher for his fancy footwork, and Marble who kept up damage as much as possible in the chaos of a lot of these fights. Take a look at the next series. And it's the semifinals of the Japanese LJLs with Sengoku Gaming versus Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. It was interesting. It's really weird to watch a series where one team spends a lot of time practicing regimented plays and map movement, and the other lives by pure chaos and skill checks. Now, the Hawks show fantastic vision and neutral play, solid side lane controls, and otherwise excellent draft sense. The issue here lies in the mid to late game stages of the game, where it is clear that they are rushing through plays without properly accounting for the tools that are available for both sides, leaving them in rather tricky spots. Or even in the early game, when they make very elaborate level 1 plays, or even answers to the other play, and with minimal gain to speak of. Blank really spent a lot of time investing in trying to disrupt anything that would be coming out of coming from his opponent, and it just left it with like mostly nothing. It's a lot of dissatisfaction, which was super interesting just to see how Once would just react, but honestly, I don't think it was worth the pain. That said, they sure leveled up from the last series. The thing here, though, is that Sengoku Gaming contested and checked for any mistakes that the Hawks, leading them to lose. Sengoku Gaming, for their part, mostly played reactive. They have strong early game and laning phases, really leaning into the win lane, win game sentiment, but otherwise it is fairly autopilot and skill checks from there. This doesn't help when a team has fairly inconsistent vision, unless ahead, and takes very little time to set up any of their plays. A team like this, proactive, I could see making worlds and making moves, but the lack of proactivity makes it hard for me to see where this team could go. Shout out to Once, who really established early game control, and Jet, who played out of his mind to zone control the Hawks in chaotic ways. Take a look at the next series. It's the grand finals of the Japanese LJL. We got Detonation FocusMe versus Sengoku Gaming in another finals rematch. But this was not even close. Just not even close. Congratulations on Detonation FocusMe on being the 21st team to qualify for Worlds. This was so utterly one-sided. While early game Sengoku Gaming shows some signs of coordinations and proactivity that's really nice to look, or nice to see at least from them, it is clear that Detonation are in full control. Whatever led to Sengoku Gaming whatever lead that Sengoku Gaming would gain at first would be instantly lost by all laning phase advantages that are being accrued and set up by Detonation. Every decision served to make the team as a whole gain gold, while Sengoku Gaming would primarily focus on getting Jet ahead or getting some neutrals, but not building off of that. And also, just Jet would not hold any meaningful impact, and with the neutrals being tied so much later into the game, it is on top of the fact that Sengoku Gaming never held a gold lead during the entire series. The mid game comes around and breaks, and the mid game comes around, and the breaks just don't exist for Detonation FocusMe, as any small advantage is being pushed by them and any fight is taken. They have this nasty little habit of going a little too aggro on any given play, but given how Sengoku Gaming didn't know how to respond to anything being thrown at them, it didn't usually matter. This could become an issue against higher-seeded teams at Worlds, who will gladly fight them on those terms, but given the context of this series, it didn't matter. Seeing the absolute confidence out of Detonation FocusMe and the fact that they did not throw once during the playoff series at this given moment has me hopeful about their performance at Worlds against some of the most emerging regions and some of the lower-seeded teams of legacy regions. Really going to be nice. Shout out to Yudapon and Yaharang, who were monster carries during the entire series. Let's take a look at the next series. Damn, that was a journey. That's 94 playoffs, or depending on the region that you were watching, anywhere between 5 to 15 best of fives. If you want to watch from the other regions, or you really want to watch the supercut, on either side, I don't remember which side I'm going to put it on, you can just watch those there. I want to hear your thoughts also on like which one of these were your favorite, what teams you think you're going to be like rooting for, just anything and everything down below. I'll be again making some videos further down the line, or should have some videos produced further down the line with all of the magic that comes with it. So keep your eyes peeled. And with that, I'll see you all next time for when I do the introductions of all the different teams. Ciao. Thank you all for watching.